My Hero Vigilantes episode 4 is here, and it is probably the best one yet. But they did cut some scenes yet again. Unfortunately, this episode started out with more of that weird stuff. This time, dress flipping. However, this scene was reduced thanks to heavy cuts, and the visuals were changed. And for good reason, this stuff was really weird. In the manga, their first victim was specifically in high school, and it was only the first brother who flipped the skirts. The second one stole panties, and the third one put them on. They did this to several victims. It was like the panty raid from SpongeBob, but much worse. The brothers even had an ideology about representing the true nature of humanity or something stupid like that. And unlike the anime version, Koichi was the first one on the scene. The highlight here was that his quirk was like theirs. So the women assumed that he was a fourth brother. And rightfully so, because before Knuckleduster started knocking skulls around, Koichi tried to reason with them. And honestly, I don't even want to repeat his suggestions out loud. As we've pointed out with the previous episodes, early Vigilantes has a lot of this weirdo content. Stuff that made me avoid the manga for a good while. But it's also clear to me that the anime is doing its best to move away from all that, while also keeping the things that are definitely worth watching. Between the beginning of this episode and the last one, it seems like they don't want Koichi to be labeled a creep like he was in the manga. And I don't mean by fans, I mean literally in the story. Now, this reframing also places more emphasis on Knuckleduster's involvement, which makes sense based on how the last episode ended and what half of this episode is about. And unlike the previous three, the tone of this one isn't very silly or funny. Koichi may be meek, but he's not dim. He's noticed his master's weird behavior, and when he finally brought it up, Knuckleduster didn't answer him, at least not directly. After being hit in the face, Koichi admitted that he's not cut out for fistfighting. Knuckleduster's reply was also a response to Koichi's questioning, that Koichi can lead the punching to him and make himself useful in another way. In other words, he'd be keeping the darker side of the fight to himself. And Koichi's high perception was highlighted again since he could tell that Knuckleduster was not only holding back against him, but even the villains whose faces he'd rearranged. He could tell that his master was trying to overdo it, but only a little bit. From there, we have Hachisuka on the phone with a mysterious benefactor. Inevitably, the impact of this scene changes a bit since we can actually hear the voice. Fans of the main series should be able to tell that this is none other than All for One. For me at least, that is of course pretty exciting and makes the gravity of the entire situation that much stronger. At this point, we've moved on from turning average citizens into instant villains. Now, we have an already volatile junkie. And man, they had him drooling a fountain in this version. But oh my goodness, this junkie villain stuff was downright cinematic. The colors, the animation, the special effects, it was incredible. This fight was so cool, and now I'm really excited for all the fights to come. And oh man, Knuckleduster is such a beast! There aren't many pro heroes who could do what he did, even with their quirks. He's just nice like that. Really, if All Might never received one for all, I could totally see him being a similar sort of quirkless fighter. But incredibly enough, Knuckleduster is just a different kind of junkie. A battle junkie like Miruko. He was even smiling the next day. But unfortunately, then we go back to the super creepy weirdo content with Hachisuka. A grown man met this high school girl on an app and brought her back to see his wild side. And as if that wasn't crazy enough, this never comes up again. There is no reason for this. It's not even like he was turned into a villain. To be honest with you, this is just creepy and sick writing. Moving on, we have Ingenium's high-speed chase. His intro was really cool, and they definitely took some creative liberties with this version. Technically, it's a bit lore-breaking. The truck is decked out with a bunch of high-tech equipment, and Tensei's suit is hooked up to it. That is clearly not the case in the manga. This level of support technology generally wasn't available during Deku's school year, let alone half a decade before then. But who cares, it's cool. Too bad they did all that only for him to miss the guy and crash. That's right, the speedster hero with a Gundam suit sequence out of Iron Man's personal truck couldn't keep up with the barefoot junkie in a straitjacket. Now, if you've been with the channel since way back when, then you already know that Iida used to catch strays from me all the time. I eased up on him towards the end there since he got pretty cool by then, but now it's his brother's turn. Later on, Koichi ran into the guy while going out for his morning run. But here's my question. Why is he running like that? His engines are in his elbows, right? So why would he be moving his arms around like that? And clearly he doesn't do that when he's suited up and doing hero stuff. Maybe one of you can explain this to me. Anyways, this turned into our first proper insight into how Koichi's quirk actually works. I really like this scene in the manga, and they did a great job adapting it. And of course, it's cool to see how immediately Koichi was able to add a whole new dimension to his quirk based on a simple suggestion. It vaguely reminds me of when Deku realized that he could also kick instead of just punching all the time. Legal or not, it's hard for most of us to imagine having a superpower and not testing everything out. But with how normalized quirks are, extraordinary or not, they're just as susceptible to modern Japanese sociology as anything else. The general collectivism, conformity, and internalized rules that the average citizen abides by. But that's cutting into the overarching message of the series and way too deep for this video. So maybe we'll go there another time. Tensei also taught Koichi the importance of speed when it comes to hero work, which will be important for him to remember. He even offered Koichi a spot on his team. But after that, the anime version cut another scene. In the manga, Koichi was in a good mood and making fried rice like Uncle Roger. Being scouted by a pro hero was like a dream come true for him. Popstep was a hater and said that they probably print mountains worth of business cards, so it's no better than a trash flyer on the street. You see, in the real world, that's when you know you really need to cut that person off. Meanwhile, Knuckleduster was a bit jealous since he's already Koichi's master. Let me know if you guys think they should have kept this scene. I for one thought it was fun. That night, Ingenium was chasing the villain again. But this time, he didn't have airbags, so he was able to move faster. He relied on his team, and their plan worked. But they didn't expect the villain to also be able to fly. Fun fact, this bat villain was inspired by the Devil Bats from Eyeshield 21. Which for those of you who watch our One Punch Man videos, is the series Murata previously worked on. The chase made its way to Naruhata, but these heroes were not built for the streets. This is the Crawler's territory. He easily tripped the villain, and Knuckleduster finished the job. No fancy suits, no big team, no hassle, no failing to get him the first time or the second time, they just got the job done. The next morning, Tensei took his business card back. But again, in this version, Koichi's reaction doesn't have the context of how happy it really made him since they cut that scene. But again, let us know what you guys think about the episode and all these changes in the comments. And I hope you'll be here for the next one because the preview already looks pretty crazy. As always, I'm Sliceable Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.